Thanks so much, Buster, and thanks so much, Mo and the Keynote team for giving me the chance to share this really exciting project that I've sort of been working on in stealth for about 2 years now. So about 2 years ago, I launched this venture with Michael J. Casey from CoinDesk. We were really interested in looking at the applications of blockchain technology and community coordination for the future of the media industry. It went through several different iterations. We went through a couple of different incubator programs, and that now forms what you see today. So next slide, please. Do I have a clicker? Is there a clicker? Oh, there's a clicker. Perfect. Okay, so in colonial days, there was a concept of the town crier. A town crier was a person who went out into the village, who was in charge of communicating the happenings of the town, the pertinent information to the people of the town who may not be able to either understand what was going on or couldn't be able to, or wouldn't be able to read or whatever. They were in charge of communicating who was born, who died, communications from the king or the leader or the nobleman of the time. They were in charge of keeping records. So their key functions were really simple. They had to proclaim the information in public. There had to be a time when they did the crying part. They had to say, this happened, or this person died, in front of a public audience of people. They had to post a public record, so they had a paper decree. You can see the paper decree here. They had a paper decree that they then posted in the town square. They had to maintain a master record book of all of the decrees that had happened. So when, after a certain amount of time, they'd take the decree off of the board and then they'd put it in their book. They'd respond to queries from other people. So, okay, you cried about something on this day, and I need to know what that was, and they would tell the public what happened. And they had to translate, as I said before, the notice into words for those who may not be able to understand them. So now enter the internet. I know we fast forwarded a little bit there. But a couple of things happened in the middle, and now we're here. And so in the early days of the internet, a lot of internet pundits were very excited about the potential of the internet to transform the way that we communicate information and the way that we share our happenings, share world events, share news, partake in news. People were very excited about this. Like, great. Okay, before this we had Encyclopedia Britannica, we had these publications that came out from reputable organizations that maintained the standard of knowledge. And this was gonna be great, because we were all gonna be looking at the same thing, right? You'd think, okay, we all can share in this body of knowledge, this is gonna be awesome, we're all gonna think about the same thing. That's gonna be great. A positive step towards education, the value of, but then it turned out that the value of the information was more valuable value of information about the information was more valuable. Where it came from, reputation, who it came from, who maintained the standard of record was more important than the actual information itself. So we built our Internet of Information. You heard about that a little bit with Alex Tapscott this afternoon. So there were all of these different internet pundits who were very excited about this. Unfortunately, we now run into all kinds of problems, right? There's spin, we have several world leaders from a country that I do not live in saying that the media is fake, that the news is not reputable, that information is not being communicated accurately. Obviously, that is a problem for the maintenance of our public institutions, for the public trust, for even just the standards of information as we go about our lives. So in creating this feudalist system, everyone lost. You create all of this data. It's very similar to the feudalist days, where all of the peasants grew all of this lush vegetables. They grew corn and all kinds of other things. They had to give it all to the lords. Then they could keep a few cabbages for making sure that they for the service of growing all of that produce. So now we are in that similar situation. The large tech companies, indexes, governments, big companies keep all of the data about us, and then we get to keep just a couple of meager information about just little things, like your credit card information, your passport, your identity and your state identity, all this other stuff. You get to keep all of that, but so many people have it and also get to use it without your consent. So our publishers, our media publishers, can't maintain their voice amongst this crowded group of people. Creators lost the ability to keep track of the things that they want to create. Brands struggle to engage customers because they don't want to run infinite ads. How many people swipe through every single ad on Instagram? Skip ad, skip ad, skip ad. They bring about ad blockers. They bring up all of these different pieces of software that make it more challenging for corporations to communicate what they want to communicate. So they're forced to go through more and more rogue versions of marketing, which then become more and more intrusive. And unfortunately, normal people, as we talked about before, that's you guys on the bottom, normal people. Normal people can't maintain control or provenance of their own data, and they can't take it back. So what's needed is an open index. Right now, our internet is built on private indexes. The joke, one of our development team's favorite joke is, what is your favorite public space on the internet? It's a trick question. There are none. All of the spaces on the internet that we use are owned by companies. There's, Google is an index, Wikipedia is an index, Facebook is a platform. All of these websites that we go to are owned by companies who curate them, who sell AdWords, who put advertisements on top, who are flow-throughs to allow people to interact with corporations, to buy stuff that enable us to do all kinds of things in modern commerce. So we thought about that, and we're like, okay, this has to be based on a public index. There's a project called the Open Index Protocol. The Open Index Protocol is built on the Flow blockchain. The Flow blockchain is a proof-of-work metadata blockchain from 2013 or so. It's an original fork of Litecoin, and it's designed specifically for metadata. It's lightweight, transaction fees are really low, it's able to process large amounts of information, but metadata is also very light. It's not a compute-heavy process. It's currently being used to build the Medici Land Governance Wyoming project. It's currently being used by Caltech to keep track of electron microscopy data. So it's very versatile. So we thought, okay, we want to use this for content. How do I publish? What we want to do is we want to publish in a public record that someone created something at a specific point in time, and then we wanted to add, these are the terms for its reuse, right? So about 60 to 70% of the content on the internet right now, or probably more now, is not original. It's based on other things. It's based on, you have memes, you have compilations, you have fan videos, you have fan fiction, you have clips of films, you have music videos of all kinds of things. So to estimate the true value of a piece of content, you should be able to aggregate all of those things together. So quickly, I want to use a little bit of a metaphor to explain what we are and how we really aggregate this content together. So stay with me, it's going to build a little bit. So Streambed, my company, is a publishing and rights registry. We publish to the Open Index Protocol that someone created something, specific point in time, these are the terms for its reuse. But the key part about this is we should be able to link videos together on the internet. Right now, every video exists as an island. My video is an island. If I have a YouTube account, I'm one person. I post one video, right? One person, one video. But most, if not all, pieces of media involve other people. You have, if your video is of someone, if Mo decides to post videos of this conference, or even videos of me speaking, or videos of any of the other panels, or whatever, then those videos, if they have people in them, that helps to add to that person's public profile on the internet. It helps to bolster Keynote as an organization. It helps all helps to add to the basis of information by which the internet decides how much my reach is worth. So stay with me. I want to talk to you about a little bit about derivatives. This is how we figured this out. So, by all accounts, Mean Girls as a film from 2004. Has everyone seen Mean Girls? So none of you, cool. See, everyone's seen it, exactly. So, and even if you haven't seen it, you've probably heard quotes from it. You've heard, you go Glen Coco, or like, don't stop trying to make fetch happen, or any of those. So, originally, Mean Girls as a film actually only made, this is adjusted for inflation, but $207 million, which is very low for a film of its kind. By all statistical accounts, and given all of the other films that came out that year, it was not supposed to become a successful movie. It was not supposed to become as blockbuster as it was. So what actually made that happen? Well, it actually talks about all of the different things that happened that were completely outside of Paramount's control that made Mean Girls the ingrained cultural phenomenon that it was. So if we can figure that out, then we can do all kinds of other things to build on top of that to really be able to replicate this for another film, good or not. One can argue that it's a very good piece of content, and a good piece of content gets traffic. But I know a lot of people who create some really cool stuff, and nobody looks at it. And so do you. You all know that. I'm sure you all have cool companies that nobody reads. So Paramount releases Mean Girls in 2004. If we look at this green, the green areas, and here you can kind of see it, the green areas in here represent anything that that company can't control. The person who originated the content can't control what happens next. So under here we have, previews. They released, this is 2004, so bear with me. They release previews, they release cinema, VHS, DVD, they distribute those to stores, press and TV interviews, soundtrack, talent reputation. The talent, they can't control what the talent did beforehand. But we should be able to build that into, okay, these are the different things that we build, soundtrack artists, here are all the different pieces of the people who are in it. Now we have entrance of compilations and fan fiction. So we're going a little bit off track already. Now we add in Mean Girls the musical, coming with it a whole new set of music, new talent, new reputation, new Broadway reviews, new script, we could take that one step further again, to cultural references. Now we have Fetch, we have the Jingle Bell Rock music video, we have You Can't Sit With Us, we have Meme Generation. How many times have you shared one of these hilarious things and ragged your friend about it? A lot. And it happens all the time. So all of those things should eventually feed back to figure out why Mean Girls the film was a really successful movie. So we can go one more step and say, okay, now we have best-selling books by authors. We have community theaters licensing the rights to the Mean Girls musical, which was created on the film, which was, you can go back and back and back. You see where I'm going here. And then, now we get into 2020. The correlation between all of these different distribution platforms is that they all end up, all of these ones along the bottom are video players, every single one. And the cool part about that is that video players have the ability to take in all kinds of information about who views them, about what they do with it, where they take it, trackers, all kinds of the scary shit that you think is just not happening in the background that you just kind of try to ignore. All of those are video players. That if they were able to attest to the fact that someone created something, or that someone attached themselves and their brand to something, that both could help raise the profile of each other. So we now are able to engineer virality. We're able to say, okay, this was a crazy successful movie, why? We can run a bunch of tests of okay, we're gonna just test musicals, we're gonna just test best-selling books, we're just gonna test a bunch of other things. Adding an incentive now. So now, if you have people publishing videos, they're able to then either pay people directly for posting their videos to their own channels. Edelman talked about an increase in localized trust in last year's trust barometer, where communities now are reverting back to, and we see this as Bitcoin is a perfect example. Communities' trust in our international and traditional institutions is failing. We have this crisis of legitimacy. And what happens when we have a crisis of legitimacy? We have a crisis of leadership. And what do? We roll back to our previous world, where we had localized communities, we have barter economies, we have buy local, we have all of these different things that help us to reinforce the communities we already exist in. And what was born out of that? Influencer marketing. Influencer marketing created a world where people were able to lend their audiences to the things that matter to them, or to brands that want to use the platform of an influencer to market to somebody else. So what we are a social tool. We paste a QR code on top of every video. Viral news is a perfect example. This is from my co-founder. He was the first person to film a helicopter going down hard on top of a Manhattan building about 6 months ago. Within about 9 minutes of posting this video, he got 40 requests from Fox, from CNN, from all of these big news organizations who are forced to maintain their role as as media organizations to get the rights to publish that video, use this consumer, we call it UGC, user-generated content, to use this video on their own news platform. They have to have the rights to show the video. But they have no way to do that. So Lance's own answer, you can see it right here. This is Fox on the bottom. Hope you are safe. Did you take this video? Do we have permission to use legalese, 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 legalese? And he has two options. He has, no, you can't use my video, by which next Fox will probably steal his video from something else. Fox will steal it from somebody else who ripped his video and they'll just use it anyway. Or he can say, yes, you can, and then they'll attribute it to him. Those are his options. That's it. So what we do is we create a platform where if Fox were to scan this QR code, it would pop up his profile. His profile then has an opportunity for each of these people. He would have a request that comes in or not. He sets the terms of use when he posts things to the platform. The key part here is we are not trying to create decentralized YouTube. 80 years of video is published to YouTube every single day. If that's the case, I'm not trying to beat YouTube. I don't really want to, because that is the platform by which people consume media. So if that's the case, we then need to create a tool suite that can sit on top of where publicly available video is viewed, and it can aggregate all of the data that is coming together from each of those platforms, allow people to legally relicense media, and then have it feed back to the original creator. It's not about royalties. It could be, but it's not right now. It's about feeding data pathways and about positively incentivizing groups of people to maintain those pathways. Because at the end of the day, we all actually want to create communities. We want to have niche communities of people who care about the things that we care about. We have group chats for specific things. We have people who recommend products to us. And we're more likely to buy them if we trust those people. So what Streambed is we believe that everyone can be an influencer. You should be able to lend your audience to the things that matter to you. You should be able to lend your influence, no matter how big or how small, to the things, to the brands or to governments or to other organizations that you support, to charities. You should be able to take all of that information and you should be able to put it out to your people. Because if Beyonce can get paid for promoting L'Oreal and get 3% conversions, you should be paid the same for if you have 100 followers and you can convert just 3 of them. Those metrics are the same. The conversion rate is the same. So this platform will enable, you probably don't want to look at like a bunch of talking heads of faces. You can come talk to me about this later if you want. But this is our advisory board, a bunch of other stuff, legal stuff. But the point is, you have an opportunity to lend your audience to the people, to the platforms and the brands and the communities that really matter to you. And realistically, if you can go to a brand or any of these organizations who are trying to, because brands don't want to run ads, they don't want to be interruptive, they don't want to be annoying, but they are forced to be annoying because of the situation that tech companies and big news organizations have put them in. So this reputation scoring mechanism now, if I associate myself with a brand, then I can now elevate the platforms of both. So if we can gather these communities together, we can incentivize these niche communities to form, they can work as self-reinforcing ecosystems and allow us all to benefit. So that is all I have to talk to you about today. We are raising a financing round right now, so if you'd like to give me all your money, you can definitely talk to me about that later. But I encourage you all to really think hard about how you use your platform on the internet. Because your platform matters, because you are able to influence others no matter how large your platform is. And realistically, you can give that to other people and support and use the audience that you have and the influence that you have to support the causes that matter to you. So we would like to help you do that. Thank you very much.